Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk It. I'm your host, Trinity.
And I'm your co-host, Jonathan. It's great to be here. Today, we're diving into a question that has puzzled thinkers for centuries. What is the relationship between our mind and our brain? Are they the same thing, or is there more to the story?
That's a fantastic point to start with, and it makes me think about the philosopher who really set the stage for this entire debate, René Descartes. Back in the 17th century, he argued that the mind is a non-physical thinking thing, while the brain is just physical matter. He was a dualist, believing they were two completely separate entities.
I completely agree with your take on Descartes. And to add to that, he created a real headache for himself with the interaction problem. If the mind is like a ghost, how does it pilot the machine of the body? He suggested they met at the pineal gland, which is a bit like saying the Wi-Fi router for your soul is hidden deep in your head. It didn't really satisfy anyone.
Now that we've covered that philosophical starting point, let's shift our focus to when science started offering some dramatic physical clues. I'm talking about the famous case of Phineas Gage. For anyone who hasn't heard of him, Gage was a 19th century railroad worker who had a horrific accident where a large iron rod was blasted right through his front of his brain.
It's an unbelievable story. He survived, but his personality was completely changed. Before the accident, he was known as a reliable and well-liked man. Afterward, his personality became a chaotic scene. He was impulsive, profane, and couldn't stick to any plans. It was one of the first pieces of evidence suggesting our personality and our very self are tied directly to the physical tissue of the brain. What are your thoughts on that, Trinity?
You first.
I was just going to say, it presents a serious problem for pure dualism. It's hard to argue the mind is totally separate when a physical injury can so profoundly alter it. But it's not just about damage. What about actively stimulating the brain? Neurosurgeon Wilder Penfield, the expert we mentioned in a previous episode, did some amazing work on this.
Go ahead.
While performing brain surgery on awake patients in the 1950s, Penfield would electrically stimulate different parts of their cortex. When he touched one spot, a patient might vividly relive a specific memory. Another spot might cause them to hear a song as if a radio were in the room. He showed that activating neurons could literally generate conscious experiences on demand.
I hear your point, and the evidence linking brain activity to mental states is undeniable. But I'd like to offer a different perspective. Even if we can map out every single neural connection, does that explain subjective experience itself? This brings us perfectly to the next point on our list, what the philosopher David Chalmers calls the hard problem of consciousness.
Ah, yes, the question of why we experience anything at all. Why is there a feeling of what it's like to see the color red or to feel the warmth of the sun?
Exactly. We can explain the brain's functions, but we can't yet explain why those functions have a subjective inner life attached to them. It's a ghost that science hasn't been able to bust yet, which keeps a little wiggle room for non-physical ideas about the mind. Have you had a similar experience grappling with that gap in our understanding?
Absolutely. It's the central mystery, but while I see where you're coming from, my experience has shown that sometimes what feels like a mystery is just a more complex mechanism at work. Take free will. The scientist Benjamin Libet conducted experiments in the 1980s that found brain activity associated with the decision appears a fraction of a second before the person is consciously aware of having made the decision.
So our brain might be the one making the call, and our conscious mind just gets the memo a moment later? That's a deeply unsettling thought for a lot of people.
It really is. It challenges our most basic sense of being in control. So, in the end, we're left in a fascinating place. The scientific evidence overwhelmingly shows that the mind is deeply intertwined with the physical workings of the brain. Yet, the fundamental mystery
of subjective experience, the hard problem remains. It's not a settled debate, and both science and philosophy are still actively exploring it.
And we want to know what you, our listeners, think. Is the mind just a clever illusion created by neurons? Or is there something more? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. It's a fantastic way for us to know you're following the conversation and what topics you're passionate about.
We'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you enjoyed our discussion today, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing this episode. It's a great way to motivate us and helps us continue bringing you these conversations. We'll talk to you next time on Let's Talk It.